Paint Care is all about keeping it simple for district residents. They make recycling leftover paint easy with convenient locations like your local paint store. Paint Care has 3 simple rules for painting smarter and reducing waste. 1, buy the right amount of paint for the job. 2, use up what's left. And 3, recycle the rest. Visit paintcare.org/3simplerules to learn more, or find a paint drop-off site near you. Today on CityCast DC, are all those new speed cameras really making an impact? Plus, we need to hash out DC's new budget and how to celebrate Juneteenth. To dig into all of this, I'm talking to CityCast's Priyanka Tilve and Brianna Thomas, author of Black Broadway in Washington, D.C. Today's Tuesday, June 18th. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Priyanka, Brianna, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to see you. It's been a minute.
Hey, happy to be here.
Hope you all are staying cool in this very, very hot, sticky, nasty weather.
Oh, yeah, it's been gross.
It's supposed to only get hotter.
Yeah, that's true. This is going to be a really tough week.
Ugh, air conditioning, pools. I hope we're all staying cool out there. Before we get into it, I have to say the amount of topics that we cover on these roundups sometimes blows my mind. We'll be talking about budget stuff, like real deep city life stuff, and then like how to have a good time in the city this weekend. There's so many topics. If people want to continue having these meaty, diverse conversations about DC, what should they do?
I don't know. Maybe they should become a subscriber to CityCast DC, this amazing podcast I just heard about, and also our sister newsletter, Hey DC. No, but in all seriousness, we spend so many hours researching this stuff so that we can distill it into something manageable and accessible for listeners and readers. And, it takes a lot more than your average work week and kind of just always on out there on our weekends, observing things and trying to turn them into podcasts. And so we would really appreciate your support. If these conversations are something you value, if you listen to our podcast more than once a week, then, throw a few dollars our way. It's only $8 a month, and you can become a subscriber by going to membership.citycast.fm.
That's only $8 a month, as opposed to a traffic ticket that you might get on a speeding camera, which is several dollars more.
And we know that a lot of you are out there paying those. So, right, Bridget? I feel like you were just reading about some statistics on this.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is kind of near and dear to my heart as somebody who seems to get popped with speeding camera tickets all the time. I hate it. If it's happened to you, you probably hate it. And that is getting a speeding ticket. We've talked about this on the show before, but DC is investing in more traffic cameras to give dangerous drivers tickets as part of what the mayor is calling Vision Zero. This initiative meant to bring down traffic fatalities and injuries to zero. And that has meant more cameras that ticket people who speed and roll through stop signs and are just general traffic scofflaws. More cameras were installed last year. Half of DC's 25 most deadly intersections now have cameras, and more are coming. And it actually seems like this initiative, as annoying as it is to get one of those tickets in the mail when you're like, what? It actually seems like this might be working and having an actual impact.
Well, I know it is because I've gotten a bunch of these speeding tickets. It's the absolute worst. Brianna, have you been hit with this?
I currently owe about $400 in speeding tickets. And if I don't pay them by next week, they will be doubling. So yes, I can relate.
Yeah, yikes. I don't even have a car, but I'll borrow my friends' cars occasionally. And then, speeding tickets. And sometimes in the exact same spot over and over. It's the absolute worst.
Well, you're exactly the kind of person that the city is trying to crack down on.
I know.
What they really don't want is people speeding in the same area. So if you get one of those tickets, they want that to be the thing that is like, okay, well, don't speed in this area. And it seems like it actually might be having an impact that people are not getting repeat tickets in the same areas around DC, which might mean like they're not speeding around there, or maybe they're just speeding in different places around DC that don't have cameras. But either way, maybe it's making an impact.
Yeah, I hope people aren't like speeding and then just like slamming the brakes right before the camera, because I feel like I've seen that happen. Like, I don't know if you know the K Street there's that tunnel on K Street if you're going to and from 66, and there's a speed camera in that tunnel. And I've seen people like zoom, 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 and then just slam on the brakes right before they get to that camera because they know exactly where it is. But hopefully that's not what is happening. And like people are actually genuinely slowing down in those like central parts of the city.
I can't imagine if that's what they're doing, if they're just slamming on brakes. That doesn't sound very safe either.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's like almost like worse.
I feel like my issue with it, and I am, a multiple offender of this. So I guess I don't have too much of a position here since I'm the type of person that DC is trying to stop from speeding. However, the cameras are also not always in the best places. Like there's this camera off of Pennsylvania Avenue. There's already so much traffic there. We don't need to go any slower. We're already going slow. And the speed cameras, when you see them, of course, people do the slam on brake thing. And now you're in traffic for an extra 10 minutes when there's already traffic there anyway. So it's like, we don't need a speed camera here. Let's put the cameras by schools. Let's put the cameras, by parks, places where you need people to purposely slow down, not places where people are already going slow.
I do agree with that.
One of the issues that I have with the speed cameras, so I feel like when you get one of these tickets in the mail, the first thing you do is if you're me, you start figuring out all the ways that it's not actually your fault. But I've gotten one of these tickets where, like New York Ave, for instance, it is very hard to go the speed limit there. There are roads in DC that I feel like, yeah, it's not good to speed, but maybe the roads are not designed in such a way that you can actually feel safe driving the speed limit. And I kind of agree with you, Brianna, that I don't think it's safe to speed. However, I do think some of these cameras, I question the locations that they're in. I question how the roads are designed or where they're at. Like, are you just making money off of me speeding, or are you actually interested in this road being safer?
That's a good point, because also that New York Ave camera that you're referring to, it's a big road. It's like 3 or 4 lanes. And I feel like that psychologically suggests to people that they're supposed to go faster because it's a big road, it's a highway, or it looks like a highway. And so I wonder if they're also considering, speed bumps or fewer lanes, quite literally, things like that, that psychologically indicate to people that this is not the speed to drive at here.
Absolutely. And in addition to all of these speed cameras, the city actually has other plans to crack down on unsafe driving in ways that aren't just giving tickets via camera. The council recently passed a bill that allows DC's attorney general to sue drivers with multiple violations, regardless of where they live, which might allow the city to crack down on this even more. This same bill would allow the city to install speed restricting devices on cars of drivers who are really out there just driving reckless, like multiple speed violations. The city might be able to get involved and have speed monitors in their car. So I do think that they are looking at some ways that aren't just ticket to actually improve the safety of DC streets.
Oh yeah, those speed governors are fascinating because they quite literally will slow down the car. Like, it's not just that it monitors it and tells, I don't know, the police or whatever other authority that you're going fast. It like literally limits how fast the car can go. So you've got to be really bad to get one of those, I think.
Do we know how much money all of this is supposed to bring in for the city just in collecting from these violators and offenders like myself?
Well, that's a great question. So when we talked about this before, I really was like, this just sounds like a big plan to make money for the city. And that is true. The Office of the Chief Financial Officer expects that the cameras will bring in more than $1 billion, that's billion with a B,
Wow.
in revenue over the next 4 fiscal years. However, they do say that they plan for that revenue to plateau and that they imagine and maybe hope, that it actually will plateau when people start driving a little safer. Charlie Wilson, the director of Vision Zero, said, "We will love to see lower revenue from camera tickets because that would mean more drivers are obeying traffic laws and our streets are getting safer."
Well, okay, you also mentioned Vision Zero at the top, and it just came up again. Now, is it working from that perspective? Are we seeing traffic fatalities go down to 0?
Absolutely not.
Oh, well, okay. Great.
Yeah. I mean, it's the people speeding less sounds good, but it really has not had a big impact on traffic fatalities. They're not 0, not even close to 0. Far from it. They have increased every year since 2015 and actually reached a 16-year high last year with 52 deaths, according to city data.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm so curious as to why we're seeing both of these numbers go up. Like we're seeing the speeding tickets go up, but also the fatalities go up. So that means that they're probably not as correlated as we think, right? Something else has to be causing the traffic fatalities.
I have my theories. My theory is that COVID changed everybody and everything, and like nobody knows how to act anymore when they go out of their house. And it's just like a free for all. Laws don't matter. Nothing matters. That's my theory. I haven't seen any evidence to back that up, but that's my anecdotal theory.
Maybe. I mean, I know that the new budget, which we're going to dig into more in a second, but the new DC budget also has a bunch of provisions to deal with this. Like they're dedicating $300,000 towards like working on prosecuting speeding drivers. Then they're also putting more money towards those speed governors that we talked about. And then the last thing is that the tow trucks, like some of the city tow trucks, will finally have license plate readers, which it blows my mind that they didn't have these up until this point. But they literally had no way of knowing who was evading parking tickets so that they could tow them. And now they will finally, at least some of them will finally have those license plate readers. Maybe that'll make a difference.
It's wild to think that that hasn't been going on all along, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, maybe 2025 will be the year.
It's time for everyone's favorite summer festival. This year's Smithsonian Folklife Festival theme is Indigenous Voices of the Americas, and it will celebrate the National Museum of the American Indian. There will be 6 days packed with programming with more than 290 participants from 60 Indigenous communities across the Western Hemisphere. Indigenous artists, professional chefs, musicians, dancers, athletes, and storytellers will demonstrate traditions and teach workshops that are all free to the public. And don't miss all the Indigenous-inspired cuisine, both on the mall and inside the museum at the Mitsitam Native Foods Cafe. The festival will be on the National Mall from June 26th until July 1st. All events are free, and the festival will be open daily from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Learn more at festival.si.edu.
Local businesses are the lifeblood of a community. That's why at CityCast, we love introducing you to so many of them. And when it comes to supporting local businesses financially, no other bank does it like Eagle Bank. With both business and personal banking expertise, Eagle Bank has invested in our community for more than 25 years. They know the people, the culture, the history, the challenges, and most importantly, they believe that lifting local businesses and nonprofits lifts everyone who lives here. And isn't that the kind of bank you want behind your business? Become an Eagle Bank business client and you'll partner with a dedicated local banking expert. And because they know our market so well, they also know your customers and your competition and can tailor individual financial products and services that drive results. They're straightforward and transparent, always a phone call away. And they're fast decision makers, so you won't miss out on opportunities. The health of our communities is tied to our businesses, and Eagle Bank believes in doing all they can to keep local businesses soaring. So speaking of DC's budget, what else is happening there?
Okay, so council unanimously passed a $21 billion budget. That's billion with a B again, last week. It goes to the mayor's desk for final signing. But I mean, since it was a unanimous vote, I'm sure she's just going to sign it. And so that means that we pretty much have our 2025 year budget for the city. What's interesting is that a few weeks ago, we spoke with Mayor Bowser when she had initially sent over her draft of the budget to the council. And the final product is really different from that very first version. Some highlights: they've added more than 600 additional housing vouchers for residents at risk of homelessness. Of course, it's still significantly less money than they've dedicated towards the homelessness issue in DC in previous years, $15 million less towards that problem, but more than what Bowser had originally allocated. So at least there's that. They also enhanced the earned income tax credit and established a new child tax credit. And they also expanded fertility treatment access. And then they also took, to fund those additional programs, they took some money away from the program to fight truancy. So I don't know if you guys have been following this, but the number of students skipping school, which is what truancy is, has reached record highs in DC over the past year. And actually, yesterday's episode was all about that, about why those numbers are so high. And that talks all about the program that the city is trying to implement to fight truancy. That program is still going to exist in this new budget, but there'll be less money than they'd originally planned for. And the last major thing is that council actually put some tax increases into the budget, which was something that Bowser had been like a hard no on. In our interview, she'd been like, I will never increase taxes. And obviously now she's signing a budget that has increased taxes, but it's specifically on homes worth more than $2.5 million. And then also on the universal paid leave tax that all employers in DC have to pay. Yeah. Anything stand out to y'all about any of those provisions that they're cutting or adding?
Well, one thing that sticks out to me is that I know that in some other states, they're having conversations about fertility treatments. And I guess I'm just thankful to live in a city where they're like, no, this is something that people want and need and we should be funding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was a huge win for parents generally, this budget, both in terms of, like you said, like they're expanding access to people who want to become parents and might be struggling with that, fertility treatment access, and then also the new child tax credit provides assistance for low-income families that already have children and make sure that they can be fed and sheltered and all of those important basic needs.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised about the money being taken away from the truancy program, especially because kids attending school and staying in school really since the pandemic, and that kind of switching how we do school and education, not just in DC, but everywhere. So it's surprising that education in some way just keeps seeing budget cuts.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because when we look at this budget, I'm like, where are we okay with them having taken money? You know, like part of the problem is that this is DC's most austere budget in a really, really long time. And that's because the city had been getting all of these pandemic relief grants over the past few years. And this year is the first one where none of that's available. And so I think it's hard because something's got to go. And I don't know that there's anything I would have been okay and happy to see taken away from our city services and programs.
I feel the same way that I'm so glad I'm not somebody who's in charge of drafting up a budget for a city like DC, because if you asked me, I would say nothing should be cut. And then it's like, well,
yeah, but also we can't raise taxes on anyone. Like, I'm okay with them raising taxes on homes worth more than $2.5 million because that's nowhere near the realm of possibility for me right now. But if it were lower, like, I don't want to pay more taxes on my apartment, you know?
I mean, when there are people who have homes that are worth almost $3 million, why should that even be on the table of like, well, what are we going to raise taxes on? It just wouldn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mayor Bowser, for her part, has some reservations about this budget. Of course, like I said, I think she's probably going to sign it because it's very unlikely that more changes would be made at this point. But she thinks that the new budget should have had more cuts and that it's like that with this level of city services and these minimal tax increases, next year we're going to see even steeper cuts or even higher taxes, like basically like a more difficult budget season next year because of everything that we've got in there this year. She's just worried that the way that the budget has been set up this year is going to make for an even tougher budget season next year. So we should maybe be preparing ourselves for that.
Are there any things in the budget that covers like the police or public safety? Because crime has been an ongoing issue in Washington, D.C. for a long time now, and it's only increasing. So is there anything that's going to help fight crime, help keep families safe, help keep kids safe, stop juvenile crime, all of the above?
So they did give a bunch of more money towards the police department, $70 million more dollars than last year, which they're going to be using to hire more officers. The police in general have been labeled a winner, at least by the Washington Post, a winner in this budget for 2025. But what was interesting is that the comprehensive public safety plan that was supposed to be in this budget was ultimately cut. And I think that's the part of it that was supposed to address things like youth crime, also come up with, like, that's the part that was going to pay for the gun violence intervention program that DC has. So it seems like a lot of the public safety focus in this budget is directly on just increasing police. It seems like a lot of the efforts that are in this budget that aim to make DC a safer place to live, they just focused all of it on increasing the police force, and there aren't as many holistic approaches. And I think that was an interesting choice. I mean, maybe it's that funding the police department feels like a one-stop shop to council and to the mayor. And also the police union has been very loud about past reforms. And perhaps this is a way to give them a chance to deal with crime after last year's record highs. I'm not really sure. I would have liked to see the comprehensive public safety plan in there.
Yeah. Well, I think that giving the police money to at least hire more people, and that's not bad. I covered crime in DC for a few years, and it has been a loud cry, at least from the police department, that there's not enough help.
Yeah.
They're understaffed. So I like this part of the budget, at least. I want to see the full plan in detail, but if they can at least hire more people, get some help, that way our police aren't worn out, can cover the streets, not being stressed out, or, it's what we call being proactive, right? It prevents a lot of unnecessary events, and hopefully we can see crime go down.
I hope so too. I also hope that more police helps prevent crime. I think I would have just liked to see more efforts in there towards tackling the root causes of crime in our city rather than just adding to the police force. And maybe in the next budget, they'll be able to do that. Or maybe over the course of the year, they'll be able to find ways to implement some more preventative things. But things like the gun violence intervention program, I feel like are really crucial towards creating grassroots programs and efforts to deal with the crime issue in the city. It is sad to me that that's been taken away. One other really quick thing in the budget that I wanted to highlight is just that they are putting a lot of focus on downtown revitalization. $800 million in this budget is going towards that. A lot of that is for office to resident conversions, so taking office buildings and making them into apartment buildings, and then also trying to fund these like little pop-up retail spots in a lot of the vacant storefronts around the city. Of course, a lot of that money, so I said 800 million, 520 million of that is going to Capital One Arena renovations and renovations of the area around there. So big win for Ted Leonsis.
I really like the idea of these pop-ups. We've talked quite a bit about what to do with some of these unused office spaces and retail spaces in the city. I think little pop-ups, that's exciting. It seems like something new, something exciting. I don't feel like we have a lot of opportunities to talk about new energy in the city, and this feels new.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see where all of this goes, but I know, again, I'm happy I'm not the person who has to decide on the budget, and it's nice to see some things that feel a little positive in there.
For sure.
Let's be real, lawsuits are not fun, but with Paulson and Nace, at least they're a little easier. Paulson & Nace is a DC law firm in every sense of the word. It was founded here in 1979. Partner Chris Nace is a local who cares deeply about the DC community, even serving on the board of the local branch of the Living Classrooms Foundation in his free time. Nace and his associates Samantha Peters and Maya Perry handle medical malpractice, wrongful death, and other complex injury cases. And they don't just settle every case. They'll go to court. They'll fight for you. Paulson & Nace has even been recognized as one of U.S. News' best law firms. So if you have been hurt or lost a loved one because of someone else's mistake or negligence, call Paulson & Nace for a no-obligation consultation. Visit www.paulsonandnace.com. That's PAULSONANDNACE.com. Or call 202-463-1999.
Speaking of exciting new things around the city, Brianna, I was just reading your piece for Washingtonian about ways to celebrate Juneteenth in DC. I'm excited. For folks who don't know what Juneteenth is, what is it?
So Juneteenth is a commemoration of the last freed enslaved persons in America. On June 19th, 1865, you had soldiers riding into Galveston, Texas to announce to the enslaved people there that they were finally free. Although the Emancipation Proclamation that took place in 1863 had freed those folks in Texas. So Juneteenth is the celebration of really the final blow to enslavement in America. And you have more than 200,000 people being freed on Juneteenth in Galveston, Texas. So it's a really big deal in Texas. That is also a really big deal in Washington, D.C. In fact, D.C. started celebrating Juneteenth officially as early as 2003. And Juneteenth became a national holiday thanks to President Joe Biden in 2021. So there's a ton of festivals and parades and parties that are taking place throughout this week to commemorate the holiday. I'm wondering, are you all celebrating in any special way?
Well, looking at your piece, something that I didn't know was even an option for me is the performance of Top Dog Underdog. It looks like a special blackout performance, and I have only gone to one blackout performance in my life, and it was super fun. And yeah, so I actually might be checking that out thanks to you.
Yeah, so I'm actually attending this show, and it's really special when you have blackout performances, which are just special nights that are curated specifically for Black identifying audiences. And it's a way where we can come together, where we can enjoy ourselves. Oftentimes, these type of performances, you're allowed to make noise during them, clap your hands and just really just revel in the culture of Blackness. So this play specifically is taking place at the Roundhouse Theater, and the tickets are about $25, and it'll be a great time. Another celebration that I'm looking forward to that I would invite everyone to definitely check it out because it's free. It won't cost you a thing. And it's taking place at the Smithsonian Anacostia Community Museum. And it's their Juneteenth Freedom Celebration. And why I recommend this event is because actually the Anacostia Community Museum was one of the first places to hold a official Juneteenth celebration back in the 80s. So you definitely want to.
Wow.
I know, right? That's pretty cool. And I love the history of Juneteenth, not just for Texas, but also DC, because we've done a really great job of celebrating this commemorative moment for many years before it became a national thing. So kudos to DC on that. But yeah, there's going to be musical acts pretty much all day. You can see go-go bands play, Too Much Talent Band. Also, if you're a fan of the viral artist Nucci, he is going to be performing as well. Priyanka, do you have anything on your Juneteenth schedule?
I'll confess, I was fully relying on you to just tell me what to do. And I think that most recent recommendation is the winner for me. I'm definitely going to go check that out. That sounds so cool. I did also just have a question, though. I mean, I think so much of these types of holidays is about creating safe spaces for whatever community we're talking about. And so Juneteenth seems like it's supposed to be about creating a safe space for DC's Black community, allowing recognition and celebration. I always wonder, as someone who is not Black, what my role in this is as a good ally. Should I be going along and celebrating as an ally? Is it best to leave spaces to the community that is at the heart of it? I don't know if either of you have answers on this either, but it's just something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, one, I want to say I appreciate that question because it just means that you are culturally aware, but also want to respect and honor everybody's heritage. So thank you for asking that question, but please celebrate with us. Juneteenth is a commemoration and a holiday for a reason. The whole purpose is that we're all Americans, that we all should experience freedom and equality. And so it is meant for us to celebrate together, no matter your background or ethnicity or the color of your skin. Respectfully, for Blackout Night, though, that is the type of event where you want to save that for people that are Black, African American, identifying as a Black person. However, events that say they're open for everyone, like the event at the Smithsonian, or you can head to Annapolis. There's going to be a parade and a community festival that's totally free. Those events are open for everybody. So also, I always say learn about what you're celebrating first. So to be a good ally means that I'm not just showing up, but I'm also aware of what's happening and I'm aware of why I'm celebrating this. But that's what makes you a good ally, is just being aware of what you're celebrating, not just showing up, but why you're celebrating. So definitely attend these events and come ready to have fun. A lot of these are about partying and dancing and eating good food.
My 3 favorite things. It sounds like Moses, Brianna's dog, very much agrees. I would add one other thing. If you're a non-Black person looking to really honor Juneteenth, is that when they made Juneteenth a national holiday, it was during that time in 2020 when just a lot was going on. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I remember kind of feeling like, well, I'm happy that this day is being honored as a federal holiday, but not everybody gets the day off. It's one of those days where I'm walking around the city, I go to get my coffee, and a white office worker might have the day off and a Black service worker does not, right? And so I would just be aware of that, of like, it's a day off for many of us who work a certain kind of job, but it is not a given day off for all of us. And that includes a lot of Black folks. And so when you're out getting your coffee or whatever, just have that in your mind, just the reality of that like you might be enjoying a day off, but that doesn't mean every Black person in the United States gets a day off. And it does kind of suck to be having to work on a day that is ostensibly about celebrating Black freedom.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point. Yeah.
I agree with that, Bridget. In fact, there's actually more than 20 states that still do not officially offer a paid day off for their workers and employees. Although it's a national holiday, that does not mean that it is a paid day off for everybody. So although we have everyone observing it and celebrating it, when you don't put the action behind what you're celebrating, are you really honoring the holiday itself? So that's a great point, Bridget. I definitely agree with that.
So let's be sure that we're actually honoring our holidays and truly respectfully commemorating them.
Agreed.
Brianna, Priyanka, maybe I'll see you at some of these Juneteenth events around the city.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be out there.
I will definitely see you at probably 3 of these events. I can't wait for it.
Thanks for being here. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend who is excited about some of these Juneteenth events? You can subscribe to our morning newsletter. We are off tomorrow to celebrate Juneteenth, but we'll be back Thursday morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you then.